Picture this, it's a cold winter night in Chicago, 1977. You're driving down Archer Avenue, one of the city's oldest roads. The streetlights cast long shadows through the bare trees. Your breath fogs the windshield. And then, you see her. A young woman in a white dress, standing on the side of the road. No coat. No jacket. Just a flowing white gown that seems to glow in your headlights. She's shivering, holding out her thumb. What do? If you're like dozens of Chicago drivers over the past 90 years, you stop. You roll down your window. And that's when your night takes a turn into the impossible. This is the story of Resurrection Mary, America's most famous ghost. A spirit so real, so tangible, that she's left physical evidence behind. So persistent that she's still being seen today. And so tragic, that once you know her story, you'll never forget it. The encounters always follow the same pattern. It's late at night. You're driving past Resurrection Cemetery on Archer Avenue. You see a beautiful young woman with blonde hair, wearing a white party dress and dancing shoes. She flags you down, and when you stop, she speaks softly. Can you give me a ride? Her voice is gentle. Polite. There's something old-fashioned about the way she speaks, but you can't quite place it. She seems so real, solid, breathing, shivering from the cold. She asks you to drive north along Archer Avenue. As you drive, you try to make conversation, but she mostly stares out the window, lost in thought. Some drivers say she seems sad. Others say she won't speak at all after getting in the car. And then, as you approach the gates of Resurrection Cemetery, she vanishes. Not gradually. Not slowly fading away. She's just gone. Disappeared from your passenger seat like she was never there. The only proof she existed? The wet marks on your seat from where she was sitting. The lingering smell of cheap perfume. And the absolute terror coursing through your veins. But here's what makes Resurrection Mary different from every other ghost story you've ever heard. She doesn't just appear and disappear. She leaves evidence. Physical, touchable, verifiable evidence. In 1976, a driver passing the cemetery late at night saw a young woman in white gripping the iron bars of the cemetery gates from the inside, as if she was trying to escape. He immediately called the police. When officers arrived, the woman was gone, but the bars were bent. And on those twisted iron bars were handprints, small, delicate handprints, that had been burned into the metal. Seared into the iron as if the hands that grabbed them were on fire. The cemetery tried to remove the handprints. They couldn't. Eventually, they removed the entire section of the gate and replaced it. Those original bars? Some say they still exist, locked away, because no one could explain what caused those marks. But who was Mary? Why does she walk that lonely stretch of road? The most widely believed story goes like this. In the early 1930s, a beautiful young Polish girl, probably named Mary, though her true identity remains debated, went to the O. Henry Ballroom for a night of dancing. The O. Henry was the place to be back then. Big band music, young couples spinning across the floor, the promise of romance in the air. But something went wrong that night. Maybe she got into an argument with her boyfriend. Maybe she wanted to leave early. The exact details are lost to time. But what we know is this: she left the ballroom alone, in her white dancing dress, trying to walk home in the cold Chicago winter. She never made it. Somewhere along Archer Avenue, a car struck her. The driver either didn't see her in her white dress against the snow, or maybe they were drunk, or maybe they just didn't care. She died on that dark road, wearing her dancing shoes and party dress, alone and far from home. Her parents buried her in Resurrection Cemetery, in the white dress she died in. They wanted her to be beautiful forever, to be remembered as she was that night, young, hopeful, ready to dance. But Mary couldn't rest. Some say it's because she died so suddenly, so violently, that her spirit doesn't know it's dead. Others believe she's trying to get home, still walking the route she took that fatal night. Imagine dying on the happiest night of your life. One moment you're dancing, feeling beautiful, feeling young and infinite. The next moment, you're gone. No goodbyes. No second chances. Just cold pavement and darkness. Is it any wonder she keeps trying to go home? Now, before we go deeper into this mystery, I need to know, have you ever seen something unexplainable on a dark road? A figure that shouldn't be there? A hitchhiker who vanished? Drop your story in the comments right now. I read every single one, and the creepiest stories might be featured in future episodes. And if you're listening to this at night, alone, maybe on a drive, hit that subscribe button. Because we're about to go even deeper into the darkness, and trust me, you don't want to miss what comes next. The sightings of Resurrection Mary aren't just old legends passed down through generations. They're recent. They're documented. And the witnesses are credible, terrified, and consistent. In 1979, a taxi driver picked up a young woman in a white dress outside a dance club on Archer Avenue. She asked to be driven north, gave minimal responses to his attempts at conversation. As they approached Resurrection Cemetery, she suddenly shouted, "Here. Stop here." He pulled over, and in the seconds it took him to turn around, she was gone. The door never opened. She just vanished. In 1980, a young couple was driving past the cemetery when their headlights caught a woman in white standing inside the locked gates. As they slowed down to look, she walked straight through the bars and disappeared into the darkness of the cemetery. In 2001, yes, the 21st century, a driver called police to report a woman in an old-fashioned white dress trying to flag down cars on Archer Avenue in freezing temperatures. When police arrived, she was nowhere to be found. But here's what's truly chilling: different witnesses, across different decades, describe her the same way. Blonde hair. Blue eyes. White dress. Dancing shoes. Around 21 years old. Some even describe the same detail: she wears a thin shawl or wrap, completely inadequate for Chicago winters. These aren't people who knew the legend before their encounter. Many didn't even believe in ghosts. They're just regular people who stopped to help someone they thought was in trouble, and ended up with a story that haunts them forever. So, what's really happening on Archer Avenue? Over the years, different people have come up with different theories. Let's look at some of them. Theory 1, Mary Bregovi. Some researchers believe the ghost is Mary Bregovi, a 13-year-old Polish girl who died in a car accident on Archer Avenue in March 1934. She's buried in Resurrection Cemetery, and her death matches the timeline of when sightings began. But would a 13-year-old girl be at a dance hall? Alone? Theory 2, Anna Maria Norkus. Others point to Anna Norkus, who died in a 1927 crash while returning from the O. Henry Ballroom with her boyfriend. She was 21, beautiful, and buried in a white dress. The timeline fits perfectly. But records are incomplete, and her grave is unmarked. Theory 3, collective memory. Some paranormal researchers suggest Mary isn't one ghost, but an echo, a psychic imprint of all the young women who died tragically on Chicago's roads during the ballroom era. Their collective sadness, their unfinished lives, all manifesting as one recurring apparition. Theory 4, the road itself. Archer Avenue follows an ancient Native American trail. Some believe the road is a thin place, where the barrier between our world and the next is permeable. Mary might not be haunting the road, the road itself might be pulling her back. But here's the question that keeps me up at night: does it matter who she was, or is the fact that she's still seen, still experienced, still leaving evidence behind, enough? Because here's what we know for certain. The O. Henry Ballroom, renamed Willowbrook Ballroom, stood until 2016, when it was demolished. Witnesses reported that activity along Archer Avenue intensified after the demolition. As if destroying the last place Mary felt alive made her appearances more desperate, more frequent. Resurrection Cemetery still stands, of course. Its gates face Archer Avenue, where headlights sweep across the wrought iron bars every night. Where drivers still occasionally glimpse a figure in white, standing just inside the fence line, watching the world pass by. And the stories haven't stopped. In 2019, a Reddit user posted about picking up a hitchhiker on Archer Avenue who vanished from their car. In 2022, a TikToker shared dashcam footage of a white figure near the cemetery that moves unnaturally before disappearing. Believers say Mary is still trying to get home. Skeptics say it's mass hysteria, misidentification, urban legend feeding on itself. But neither explanation accounts for those handprints burned into metal. Neither explains why dozens of witnesses across 90 years describe the exact same woman. Maybe the truth is simpler and more terrifying. Some deaths are so wrong, so untimely, so tragic, that they tear a hole in reality itself. And through that hole, the dead can reach back into our world, looking for what was taken from them. For Mary, it's not revenge she seeks. Not attention. Not fear. She just wants to go home. So tonight, if you're driving through Chicago, and you see a young woman in white on the side of the road, what will you do? Will you stop? Will you offer her a ride? And if you do, will you be ready for the moment she disappears, leaving nothing but the knowledge that you've touched something impossible? Drop a comment and tell me, would you pick up Resurrection Mary? And if you've driven Archer Avenue at night, what did you see? Hit subscribe, because next time, we're heading to the Southwest, where Route 666 earned its name as the Devil's Highway. Trust me, you won't want to miss it. Until then, drive safe. And if someone in white flags you down, maybe just keep driving. There's a highway in America that drivers used to avoid after dark. A road so cursed, so notorious for death and horror, that the government itself decided to rename it. They thought changing the number would break the curse. It didn't. Route 666. The Devil's Highway. 660 miles of cursed asphalt stretching from Gallup, New Mexico, through Colorado, into Utah. The road was commissioned in 1926 and decommissioned, officially, in 2003. They renamed it Route 491, thinking that would end the legend. But here's the thing about curses, they don't care what you call the road. The same stretch of highway that claimed hundreds of lives under one name kept claiming them under another. The same apparitions that terrorized drivers in the 1950s are still being seen today. And the stories. God, the stories. Phantom trucks that chase you to your death. A little girl in a white dress standing in the middle of the highway who vanishes when you swerve. Demon dogs with glowing red eyes that run alongside your car, matching your speed at 80 miles per hour. And crashes, so many crashes. Unexplained, impossible crashes that investigators couldn't explain. This is Route 666. And once you know its secrets, you'll understand why some roads are better left untraveled. Route 666 was born under a bad sign. When the U.S. highway system was established in 1926, Route 666 was designated as the sixth branch of the famous Route 66, the Mother Road, the Main Street of America. But while Route 66 became a symbol of hope, freedom, and the American dream, Route 666 became something else entirely. The number itself was a problem. In the Bible's book of Revelation, 666 is the number of the beast, the mark of the devil. But it wasn't just superstition that gave this road its dark reputation. It was the body count. From the very beginning, Route 666 had an abnormally high accident rate. We're not talking about a few more crashes than average. We're talking about a fatality rate that was, at various points, twice the national average for highways of similar size and traffic volume. The official explanations were practical: narrow lanes, no shoulders, dangerous curves, wildlife crossings, drunk drivers, and the hypnotic effect of driving through endless desert. All valid reasons. But they don't explain the pattern. The crashes on Route 666 weren't just frequent, they were bizarre. Cars would veer off the road for no apparent reason, with no skid marks, as if the drivers just steered into oblivion. Vehicles would collide head-on in the middle of straight stretches with perfect visibility. Truckers would later report that their steering wheels jerked out of their hands, as if something grabbed the wheel and yanked it. And then there were the disappearances. Between the 1940s and 1980s, dozens of travelers vanished along Route 666. Cars found abandoned, engines still running, doors open, no sign of the driver. Some were never seen again. Others turned up days later, miles from where they disappeared, with no memory of what happened. Locals knew. The Navajo, Hopi, and other native peoples whose lands the highway cut through had known for generations that this stretch of desert was wrong. They called it a place where the spirits walk. Where the boundary between worlds is thin. The highway didn't create the curse. It just paved over it. Let me tell you about Sarah Martinez. In 1988, Sarah was a 23-year-old nursing student driving from Albuquerque to Cortez, Colorado, to visit her dying grandmother. It was a drive she'd made a dozen times before. She was familiar with the road, cautious, sober. She called her mother from a gas station in Gallup around 6 p.m., said she'd be there by 9. She never arrived. At 8:45 p.m., a trucker found Sarah's car on the side of Route 666, near the New Mexico-Colorado border. The car was perfectly intact. No damage. The engine was still running. The driver's side door was open. Sarah's purse was on the passenger seat, wallet and cash untouched. Her suitcase was in the trunk. But Sarah was gone. For 3 days, search teams combed the desert. They used helicopters, dogs, volunteers, the whole apparatus of a missing person search. Nothing. On the 4th day, a hiker found Sarah 7 miles from where her car was found, sitting on a rock outcropping, staring at the horizon. She was alive. Dehydrated and sunburned, but alive. When they asked her what happened, Sarah couldn't answer. She had no memory of leaving her car. No memory of the 3 days she was missing. The last thing she remembered was driving on Route 666, feeling suddenly, overwhelmingly terrified, and then, nothing. A blank space where 3 days should have been. The psychological evaluations found nothing wrong with her. No drugs in her system. No signs of trauma or assault. She just lost time. Sarah refused to ever drive through that area again. She took 4-hour detours to avoid it. And she wasn't alone. Hundreds of drivers who survived strange experiences on Route 666 developed the same phobia, an absolute, primal refusal to return to that stretch of highway. It's not just fear of a dangerous road. It's deeper than that. It's the fear of something that reached into their minds and took control. Something that wanted them, and might want them again. Alright, I need to pause here because this story gets so much darker. But first, Drop a comment right now. Have you ever driven a road that felt wrong? Not just scary, but fundamentally wrong, like the place itself was hostile to you being there? And smash that subscribe button, because what I'm about to tell you about the hellhounds of Route 666. It's going to change the way you think about road trips forever. The next part of this story isn't for the faint of heart. You've been warned. The phantom encounters on Route 666 fall into distinct categories, repeated so often by so many witnesses that they've become part of the documented folklore. The hellhounds. The most frequently reported phenomenon. Drivers describe massive dog-like creatures appearing suddenly on the roadside, far larger than any natural dog, with glowing red or yellow eyes. These creatures run alongside vehicles, easily keeping pace at highway speeds of 70 to 80 miles per hour. In 1982, a trucker reported one of these creatures running beside his rig for nearly 5 miles. He tried to outrun it, pushing his truck to 85 miles per hour. The creature kept pace effortlessly, its eyes locked on him through the passenger window. When he finally crossed into Colorado, it disappeared. Skeptics say they're coyotes or wild dogs caught in headlights. But coyotes can't run 80 miles per hour. And coyotes don't stand 5 feet tall at the shoulder. The girl in white. A recurring apparition of a young girl, maybe 8 to 10 years old, wearing a white dress. She appears suddenly in the middle of the road, forcing drivers to swerve. Those who stop to check find nothing. No girl. No footprints. Nothing. One theory connects her to a real tragedy. In 1961, a family's car broke down on Route 666. While the father was walking to get help, a drunk driver struck the family's vehicle, killing the mother and youngest daughter instantly. The daughter was wearing a white communion dress. The sedan of death. Perhaps the most terrifying, a black or dark sedan that appears behind drivers, seemingly out of nowhere. It follows for miles, gradually getting closer. Drivers who try to outrun it report their cars mysteriously losing power, engine sputtering, acceleration failing, allowing the sedan to pull alongside. When it pulls even with the victim's car, they see the driver, a figure with no face, or a skull or something worse. Accounts vary. If the sedan gets ahead of you, drivers report that their brakes fail. Accidents follow. A highway patrol officer investigating a 1990 crash interviewed the survivor, who described being forced off the road by a black sedan. When the officer checked traffic camera footage from nearby, there was no black sedan. The survivor's car swerved off the road by itself. So, what's really going on? Why is this particular stretch of road so deadly, so haunted, so wrong? In 2003, the government officially renamed Route 666. It became Route 491, and officials hoped this would end the legend, reduce the accident rate, and let people move past the superstition. Here's what actually happened. In the first year after the renaming, the accident rate barely changed. Travelers still reported seeing the same apparitions. The hellhounds kept running alongside cars. The ghost trucks kept appearing. By 2010, locals noticed something even stranger. The hauntings were getting worse. As if whatever lived on that road was angry about the name change. As if it wanted acknowledgement. Modern reports continue. Check Reddit, YouTube, paranormal forums. You'll find fresh accounts from the past few years, drivers who had no idea about the road's history experiencing the exact same phenomena that were reported in the 1950s. In 2018, a dashcam video went viral showing a massive, dog-like creature running alongside a car on Route 491 in Colorado. Skeptics tried to debunk it as a bear or large dog, but the analysis showed the creature was moving at over 60 miles per hour, and its proportions didn't match any known animal. Here's the question that haunts me: What if renaming the road didn't end the curse, it just made the entities that live there angrier? What if every time someone drives that highway, they're rolling dice with something that doesn't forgive, doesn't forget, and doesn't care what number is on the road sign? The highway still exists. You can still drive it. The pavement is the same. The desert is the same. And according to dozens of recent witnesses, the hauntings are the same. 666. 491. It doesn't matter what you call it. The Devil's Highway is still hungry. So, here's my challenge to you. If you've driven Route 491, formerly Route 666, I want to hear your story. Drop it in the comments. Tell us what you saw. What you felt. What you can't explain. And if you're planning a road trip through New Mexico, Colorado, or Utah, maybe plan your route carefully. Maybe avoid that particular stretch of highway. Or if you're brave enough to drive it, make sure it's during the day. Make sure your tank is full. And whatever you do, if you see a black sedan in your rearview mirror, or a massive dog-like creature running alongside your car, or a little girl in white standing in the middle of the road, don't stop. Don't slow down. Just drive. And pray you make it to the other side. Subscribe for more stories from America's darkest highways. Hit that like button if this story made you question your next road trip. And share this with anyone who thinks they're brave enough to handle the truth. Until next time, keep your eyes on the road. And remember, some highways are haunted not because of what happened there, but because of what still lives there.